Okay, think about this for a second. What's literally building the world around us? The skyscrapers, the roads, everything. Well, often it's those huge machines, the heavy machinery working away. Kind of the unsung heroes. Welcome to our deep dive into the global construction machinery market. It's a really vital sector, expanding fast, and it quite literally shapes our cities and infrastructure. Today, we're digging into some detailed market research, looking at the growth, the different regions. It's a pretty fascinating industry. And our mission really is to cut through all the data, pull out the key takeaways for you, help you grasp the sheer scale of this market, what's driving the growth, and some surprising regional trends. By the end, you should have a much clearer picture of who's building what, where it's happening, and how fast.
I have to say, I'm genuinely excited to get into this. It feels so tangible, it impacts our daily lives. And I'm joined by our expert who will help us make sense of it all. Right, let's unpack this. First off, the overall growth is, well, it's seriously impressive. Back in 2021, the global market pulled in over $162 billion in revenue.
That's already a huge number to start with.
Exactly. But get this, projections show it growing to more than $224 billion by 2025.
A pretty big jump in just a few years.
And then it nearly doubles again to an incredible $426 billion predicted by 2033.
Wow. That's massive.
It really is. And it reflects a strong global compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of over 8%, 8.365% to be exact.
Right. So on average, growing more than 8% every single year for what, over a decade?
Yeah. That's sustained momentum.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't just a string of numbers, right?
No, definitely not.
These figures, they actually reflect massive global change. The fundamental drivers are pretty clear.
Like what?
Well, you've got huge infrastructure projects happening, rapid urbanization, especially in certain parts of the world, and just generally increasing investment across key economies.
So new roads, bridges, airports.
Exactly. Entire city districts sometimes. It connects directly to the real-world impact we see, or maybe don't always notice, every day. It really shows where global capital and, well, human effort are being focused.
Yeah.
Often on a really foundational level, building the basics.
So construction machinery is almost like a barometer for economic health and future plans.
I'd say that's a fair way to put it. It's a strong indicator.
And you mentioned regional differences. That's where it gets even more compelling, I imagine.
Absolutely. The global numbers are impressive, sure, but the regional breakdown tells a much more nuanced story. It reveals a lot about different stages of development, different priorities worldwide.
Okay, so let's dive into that. This is where it gets really interesting. Where should we start? Asia Pacific seems like the giant in the room.
It really is. Asia
Right.
Pacific isn't just growing. It's the largest regional market by a significant margin.
The numbers.
Okay, so it was valued at over $62 billion back in 2021,
Right.
projected to reach an astounding $170 billion by 2033.
Wow, $170 billion.
And its annual growth rate, the CAGR, is approaching 9%, 8.821% specifically.
That's huge. What's driving that kind of colossal expansion, especially thinking about places like China and India?
Yeah, great question. Asia Pacific is definitely the volume leader. And within that, China is obviously a massive contributor. It's set to grow from about $19 billion in 2021
$19 billion.
to over $53 billion by 2033. That's with a AGR over 9%, 9.016%.
Still huge growth there.
Absolutely. It's largely fueled by China's continued push for infrastructure modernization, industrial expansion, big urban development projects, even as its overall economic growth rate might be, let's say, normalizing a bit.
Makes sense. But India, you mentioned India.
Yes, India. Its projected growth is, well, it's really remarkable. It boasts the highest CAGR in the entire region.
Higher than China.
Yep, nearly 10%,
Yeah.
9.733%, taking it from around $8 billion in 2021
Okay.
to over $25 billion by 2033.
That's more than tripling. What's the story there?
Well, this surge is largely fueled by really ambitious government infrastructure plans. Things like the National Infrastructure Pipeline.
Right, I've heard of that.
It's funneling billions into roads, ports, energy. Plus, you have a booming housing market driven by that huge population and rising incomes. India is kind of literally building its future from the ground up right now.
Fascinating. And you also mentioned Singapore.
Yes, don't overlook Singapore. It also shows a very high regional CGR, over 9%, 9.224%, often driven by different factors like high-tech manufacturing facilities and its smart city initiatives. Still needs a lot of specialized machinery.
So it's a mix of massive scale in China and India, focused government spending, and specific high-tech needs in places like Singapore.
That sums it pretty well for Asia-Pacific. Other key players include Japan, South Korea, Australia, other parts of Southeast Asia, Taiwan. They all contribute.
Okay, let's move across the globe. What about North America? How does it stack up?
North America is steady and strong, a very significant market.
The numbers.
Around $46 billion in 2021, $45.953 billion, and it's projected to hit over $114 billion by 2033.
So also more than doubling.
Yes, with an annual growth rate of nearly 8%, 7.729%.
And the U.S. is the big driver there, I assume?
Unsurprisingly, yes. The United States dominates the region. It accounted for over $38 billion of that $46 billion in 2021.
Right.
And it's projected to reach over $93 billion by 2033.
So what's the story in the U.S.? Is it the same kind of drivers as Asia?
Not quite the same. Here, the growth isn't so much about building brand new cities from scratch. It's more about massive infrastructure upgrades, maintaining existing networks, which are quite old in places, plus significant commercial and residential building.
So fixing bridges, expanding highways?
Exactly. Bridge repairs, highway expansion, building new logistics hubs for e-commerce, that kind of thing. Big investments there. Also worth noting, Canada actually has a slightly higher projected CAGR than the U.S., around 8.5%, and Mexico shows solid growth too.
Interesting. So it's more about revitalization and continued expansion in North America rather than laying the initial foundations like in parts of Asia?
That's a good way to put it.
Okay. And across the Atlantic, Europe.
Europe's established markets are also showing pretty robust growth.
Similar to North America.
The growth rate is quite similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Their overall figures were around $29 billion in 2021, projected to grow to nearly $74 billion by 2033. That's an annual growth rate just under 8%, 7.934%.
And within Europe, any standouts?
Well, Germany really stands out. It leads the region and actually has the highest CAGR among the major European economies, over 8.6%, 8.659%.
Higher than the U.S. rate even.
A little bit, yeah. Germany is climbing from about $5.7 billion in 2021 to over $15.5 billion projected for 2033.
What's behind Germany's strength?
It's often tied to its very resilient industrial base, ongoing urban development, and also significant investment in energy transition infrastructure, things related to renewables.
Right, green initiatives driving construction.
Exactly. And other major players like the UK, France, Italy, Spain, they're also significant contributors. Plus, Nordic countries like Sweden and Denmark are investing heavily in modernizing infrastructure and supporting those green initiatives too.
Okay, so established markets holding strong, investing in upgrades and green tech. Now, you mentioned earlier that the regional breakdown reveals different priorities. Let's shift focus maybe to the areas seeing the fastest expansion. Where are the sort of emerging frontiers for growth?
Yeah, this is where the growth rates get really eye-popping.
I bet. Where first?
Africa. It's actually the fastest growing region globally.
Faster than Asia Pacific.
In terms of percentage growth, yes. An incredible annual growth rate of nearly 10%, 9.944% CAGR.
Wow. From what base?
It's starting from a smaller base, obviously.
Yeah.
Under $6 billion, $5.87 billion in 2021, but projected to grow to over $18 billion, $18.335 billion by 2033.
That's more than tripling again. That is explosive growth. What is happening there?
You're right, it's a massive leap. And it really reflects the continent's foundational development needs. Many African nations are investing heavily right now. New ports, railways, roads, essential urban infrastructure, all needed to support rapidly growing populations and developing economies.
So building the absolute basics for modern economies.
Pretty much. And within the continent, South Africa is showing exceptionally high growth, over 10.5% CAGR, 10.558%, often linked to mining and industrial expansion. And Nigeria is right there too, over 10.2% CAGR, 10.235%, driven by its huge population and, rapidly growing cities like Lagos.
That's a really powerful story of foundational development happening right now. Amazing growth rates. What about South America?
South America is another really high growth region, also showing impressive acceleration.
Number.
An annual growth rate over 9%, 9.231%, growing from nearly $12 billion, $11.968 billion in 2021 to almost $34 billion, $33.855 billion projected by 2033.
So another region nearly tripling in size. Any standouts there?
Argentina actually shows an impressive CAGR, nearly 9.8%, 9.768%.
Argentina.
It's often tied to infrastructure improvements needed for resource extraction, boosting agricultural output, and also just responding to increased urbanization in its major cities.
Makes sense. And Brazil, Still the largest.
Yes, Brazil remains the region's largest market overall, despite Argentina's high growth rate. Brazil has ongoing large-scale infrastructure projects that keep demand high.
Okay, so Africa and South America are really surging ahead in terms of growth rate. What about the Middle East?
The Middle East is also investing heavily in its future. Maybe not the same explosive percentage growth as Africa, but still very significant.
How significant?
Well, the market was nearly $7 billion, $6.927 billion in 2021. It's projected to hit almost $16 billion, $15.947 billion by 2033. That's an annual growth rate of almost 7%, 6.901%.
And key drivers there, Saudi Arabia, UAE.
Exactly. Key countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE are certainly driving this. And it's not just traditional infrastructure like roads and utilities. It's also about those really ambitious mega projects you hear about.
Like new cities in the desert.
Yeah, think new cities, massive tourism developments, projects aimed at diversifying economies away from oil. All of that requires huge investment in construction machinery.
Okay, so putting it all together, if we connect this back to the bigger picture, these differing growth rates, they really paint a picture, don't they? Different stages of development, different investment priorities, varying urbanization speeds across the globe.
Precisely. It's not just one single global trend. It's really a mosaic of these distinct regional stories.
Right.
And construction machinery in this whole context, it's much more than just, yellow diggers and cranes.
Yeah, right.
It's a crucial indicator, like you said, but also a key enabler of economic growth and societal development. When we see these numbers, these investments, it really prompts you to think about the wider implications.
Oh, so?
Well, think about global trade flows needed to support this, how resources are being allocated worldwide, even impacts on employment patterns where the jobs are being created. It really highlights where the world is placing its bets, where it's prioritizing its development efforts right now.
That's a great way to frame it. So let me try and recap the core insights for you, the listener. We're seeing this transformative global growth in the construction machinery market overall. Asia-Pacific is leading in sheer volume, the absolute scale, driven by massive infrastructure build-outs and urbanization, especially in China and India.
The powerhouse, really.
Yeah. But then you have regions like South America, and particularly Africa, showing the fastest percentage expansion. This really points to where significant future development is focused as they build up their foundational economies.
Absolutely, the growth frontiers.
Meanwhile, the developed markets, North America and Europe, they're ensuring steady, substantial progress, maintaining their large market sizes through modernization, upgrades, and those green initiatives we talked about.
Keeping the existing infrastructure humming and evolving.
Exactly. So what does all this mean for you? Well, it's not just about big machines and complex market reports. It's really about the tangible, physical proof of global progress and change. The buildings you see go up, the roads you drive on, the infrastructure that underpins our modern world. It's all enabled by these silent giants working behind the scenes.
Couldn't have said it better.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to maybe ponder. Given these powerful trends, the different growth rates, the varying needs, what new kinds of infrastructure or maybe new construction challenges do you think will emerge in the next decade? And crucially, what role will innovative construction machinery play in solving them? Maybe think about your own city, your own region. How might these global shifts be playing out right where you are?